Imagine stumbling upon the world's most powerful secret, a device that lets you travel through time. What would you do? Correct a past mistake. Witness a historical event. Well, for one man, a career criminal, the answer was much, much darker. He didn't find this device in a gleaming lab or a secret government facility. It was hidden away, a relic forgotten by the world, waiting for someone with the right kind of ambition. And his ambition was simple: to get away with everything. His first experiment was small. A botched robbery. A witness who saw his face. Instead of laying low, he simply rewound the clock. He went back just a few hours. This time, he wore a mask. This time, there was no witness. When he returned to the present, he checked the news. Nothing. It was as if the crime never happened. The rush was intoxicating. He realized he held the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. He could do anything, and then simply undo it. The police were baffled. One day, their desks would be piled high with evidence from a high-profile jewel, heist fingerprints, security footage, witness statements. The next morning, it would all be gone. The files would be empty, the digital records wiped, the witnesses claiming they saw nothing. It was like mass amnesia was sweeping through the department. Cases weren't going cold. They were evaporating into thin air. Detectives started questioning their own sanity. Was it a system glitch? A prank? Or something far more sinister? For the criminal, this was a golden age. He became a ghost, a phantom who could walk through walls of consequence. He escalated his operations, moving from simple theft to elaborate corporate espionage, and then to even darker deeds. He was fearless, reckless. Evan, why worry about mistakes when you can just hit delete? He saw himself as a god, reshaping reality to his will. He'd stand at the scene of a crime he was about to commit, smiling, knowing that in a few hours, none of it would have ever existed. He was untouchable, a master of his own clean slate universe. But time, it turns out, is not a simple recording you can just tape over. It has a memory of its own. Every trip he took, every change he made, left a tiny, invisible scar on the fabric of reality. These weren't things you could see, but things you could feel. People started experiencing intense déjà vu, a feeling they'd lived through a moment before. Some woke up with faint scars they couldn't explain. Others had fleeting, dreamlike memories of events that never officially occurred: a bank robbery, a chase, a face they couldn't quite place. These were the echoes of erased timelines, the ghosts of crimes that no longer existed. Among the confused was one detective, a veteran known for his sharp intuition. He started having nightmares. Not just dreams, but vivid, detailed recollections of investigations. He'd remember chasing a suspect down an alley that wasn't on any city map. He'd recall the face of a victim whose death was never recorded. His colleagues thought he was cracking under the pressure, but he knew it was something more. He started keeping a private journal, documenting these phantom crimes, trying to connect the dots that reality itself had erased. He was hunting a criminal whose crimes technically never happened. The criminal was starting to notice the cracks, too. At first, they were small. A reflection in a window, showing him with a scar he'd erased last week. The faint sound of a police siren from a chase he had undone days ago. But the glitches were getting worse. His own memories were becoming a jumbled mess of different timelines. Did he escape through the roof or the basement? Did he use a getaway car or just vanish? The clean slates he created were starting to bleed into one another. Time was becoming unstable. It wasn't just fighting back. It was breaking. He tried to be more careful, to make smaller, cleaner jumps. But it was too late. The damage was done. The ether of time was now a chaotic soup of his erased actions. One day, he woke up to a world in chaos. A skyscraper, the target of an erased bombing, was a smoldering ruin. A financial market he'd manipulated and then reset was in total freefall. The ghosts of his past were no longer just echoes. They were converging. All the lives he'd altered, all the destruction he'd caused, and then wiped away, were all happening at once, merging into a single, catastrophic present that he couldn't undo. There were too many variables, too many timelines to fix. He was trapped. His perfect power had created an imperfect hell. He stood amidst the pandemonium he had wrought, a king of a broken kingdom. The detective, guided by his phantom memories, was closing in. But the criminal knew there was no prison that could hold him, because the world itself was now his cage. He looked at the time device, the source of his power and his damnation. There was only one final reset button to push, one last crime to erase, his own existence. He had to go back to the beginning and prevent himself from ever being born. But as he prepared for this final, ultimate act of self-erasure, a terrifying thought crossed his mind. What if deleting himself wasn't enough? He had torn a hole in the fabric of reality. The scars he'd inflicted on time might be permanent. He might cease to exist, but the temporal disaster he created could continue to unravel. A chaotic, broken timeline, forever echoing with the crimes of a man who was never there. Erasing the artist doesn't always erase the art, especially when the canvas is reality itself. He activated the device one last time, not knowing if he was saving the world or just abandoning it to a fate worse than any he could have ever imagined.